Is the whole reasoning behind Bitcoin a distrust of government?
I hope so. I hope so. But that's a personal point. Well, they've hardly done themselves proud, in my opinion, in terms of where we've got here. There is a disenchantment. If you look at our political system and how people vote, they vote against, not for. You know, we voted against incorporation into the EU. Then when the Tories thought they were in charge and they were going to do well, people voted against the party that thought they had the election sewn up. I get the impression that there's a lot of annoyance at the general management of the global economy. I don't think we ever shook off the bank issues of 2007 and 8. In fact, even right from .com, I think we should have had a proper recession then. We didn't. We certainly probably are in a depression, but just not technically, from the 2007 and 8 and the property side. We're at record low rates. We've created an immense amount of currency, yet earnings are going down in the recent non-farm. You know, we created jobs of Deliveroo cyclists and barmen, and people are earning less. So there's a real squeeze, and there's a transfer of wealth to such a distorted Gini curve. So people are angry. So anything that represents counterculture or another way that doesn't seem to have government associated with it, whether incorrectly or accurately, will get support. And there's a lot of libertarians leading it. If I wanted to get a new money system in, the first people I'd want to win over are the libertarians and the anti-government people, because then everyone else will say, yeah, it's got to be okay, that crowd are in it. So you get the techie and the anti-government people in. And I think that's a little bit of what's happening.
Do you think the government will continue to turn a blind eye to Bitcoin though, or do you think they'll want to get involved at some point? Can you trust it as a place to put your money?
I don't think they are turning a blind eye in the first instance, but at a practical level, the technology has got ahead of them. In most instances, government is the last place to understand technology. So they are always chasers. But I think once they recognize the threat it is putting, there will be plenty of chasing done. The tax extractors, the tertiary system, they will all not be wanting that element to get away from them. So I can imagine in terms of your activities in the crypto space, do not consider for the lifetime that those activities can't come under scrutiny, capital gains claim from a government, etc., etc. So you've got to maintain the order in your administration of self as a result. In spite of this, don't buy into the anonymity and the regulation free. I think anything you do could catch up to you. Remember, the blockchain does retain every transaction. So it carries this huge ledger of every time a coin is changing hands in payments of who, how, and where it's gone, and your details are on an exchange. So just be aware that anything you do today could be held against you in the future in terms of.
But I suppose that can also be a good thing, can't it? Because it can stop it being used in areas that perhaps, like, I don't know, terrorism or places like that. There is a.
That's the narrative we're sold. There always needs to be a boogeyman, in my view.
Yeah.
That's the narrative we're sold. I can remember that when Mt. Gox got hacked, there was a tremendous amount of media exposure of it's the pedophilia currency and people who want to have hits taken out on people and buying AK-47s and illicit drug taking and all of this. And then suddenly they turned off the attack dogs after the Mt. Gox, and then everyone was loading up passports and identity onto the exchanges. So I think these events are quite expedient. What percentage of that cash is already in place? If you and I wanted to do dirty deeds, I could hire you to do something dirty and pay you in a brown envelope of cash. That mechanism already exists. Does it make a bad person more likely to be bad because he can do it anonymously on the web, someone on the other side of the planet? Maybe, to a degree. But I think if there's ill intent, there's ill intent. You don't punish the mechanism for the intention.
Mm-hmm. Is there then a case for a kind of utopian idea behind coins, or not?
It depends what you mean by utopia. I think anything that involves humans is always going to fall slightly short of utopia. There's going to be greed, there will be some scams, there will be get-rich-quick thinking, greed and fear. And I don't know if utopia exists where there's a human element of that nature, but the idea is that we have a denationalized payment system, that you could choose your brand and you could engage with that. So you could hold all your wealth in Ethereum, pay your bills in Ethereum, and when you go on holiday, as I've mentioned before, you don't have these currency conversion issues, and you also don't have the devaluation issues and the quantitative easing issues, which are clearly destructive policies for the benchmark. Why do we want to build wealth, work really hard, and then put it in something that's dissipating and being proliferated away? And this is potentially the attraction now. Are we getting an alternative that we could put much more of our wealth in and transact with? The important thing to remember with cryptos is not only is it a revolution, it's a payment system. So you get something that is now in the space of Master and Visa cards. It also will challenge PayPal and Western Union, which is a transfer system. And then it's also a medium of exchange and a store of value. So medium of exchange, you know, I can give you some Bitcoin and, you know, you can sell me an outfit. And at the same point, it's a store of value. You can leave things in Bitcoin and there has been appreciation. So we're getting a lot of the things that gold bugs like, although there are some real differences too. And people shouldn't make that mistake to think they're identical.